Hi, everybody. Welcome to Raising Humanity podcast. We're so happy to have you here. Today, I'm so excited to bring in our guest on the Raising Light series. This is Mrs. Christy Little. And Christy is a retired professional dancer who had a massive spiritual awakening in 2020, which led her life in an entirely new direction. Through a year of deep soul diving and self-discovery, she realized how much of her life she spent making making life choices in an energy of unworthiness, something she feels many others also are living through without even being aware. Now, Christy is taking what she's learned about herself and finding a place to serve others through her love for personal and spiritual growth, energy healing, fitness, and health. She's creating a space to facilitate overall body, mind, and soul well-being. She's a certified Reiki Master, a certified dance fitness instructor, and a certified retreat facilitator. With all of these areas combined with her life experience, Christy has a passion to serve in raising the overall consciousness of this beautiful planet. Welcome, Christy. So happy you're here.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Wonderful. So I just wanted to talk quickly about, or even not so quickly, as long as you want to tell us a little bit about what happened in 2020 for you.
Yeah. So I have been a professional dancer for 15 years, and I was working in entertainment at the beginning of 2020. Obviously, those entertainment opportunities got wiped away when COVID came to the US in March. And so the first thing that I felt when that happened, originally it was 2 weeks. We were just going away for 2 weeks. And I felt this wave of relief. And that, right, I know. So that made me really reflect because I said, well, it was very strong too. So I sat with it. I had been meditating and I had been on a spiritual journey, personal development journey for about 2.5 years at that point. So I knew I could use my tools to sit quietly and figure out what that meant. And I realized how much of the way I was living and what my day to day looked like was completely being driven by my ego still. I was really living for recognition, for validation, for accolades, because I had yet to find the self love in myself. So I was looking for external validations in every form. And that's kind of typical in that industry as well. So it was really just conducive to the environment that I had been in for 3 decades at that point.
And just quickly, so that
yeah.
was dance then?
Yes. So
Okay.
I've been a dancer since I was 4. Professionally, I've been in theater and on cruise ships, and I was in Orlando doing theme park work at this point. So I've really kind of been run the gamut of the stage side of entertainment.
Okay, great.
So that's really how it started. It was the wave of relief and feeling like it was time to really self-assess, because I realized my heart and my soul wanted something completely different, and I was letting my ego run my entire life. So that's where it started. Yeah. That's where it started. It was a lot of self-reflection, and I didn't have anything else to do but be at home, because at that point everything, even in Florida, was very locked down. So I got to get really quiet, and it was very clear that it was time to spend more time with myself, and the hustle and bustle of what my daily life looked like being stripped away was the biggest blessing for me. So that was the crack of the iceberg.
The crack of the iceberg. I love it. So then once you sat with yourself and took a look at why do I feel relief, what decisions did you end up making for yourself then at that point?
So it wasn't 2 weeks that my entertainment opportunities were gone. It was turning into several months. And as that was going on, I was really learning more about myself and really understanding why I got to this place in the first place. So by the time I had that option to even think of going back, it was maybe 4 or 5 months into us being locked down and laid off and all that. And at that point, I knew there was no going back, because I knew that the energy state that I had started to merge into was so out of alignment with the energy that I was going to go back to. Because ultimately, what I realized over those 4 or 5 months, there was a lot of layers to this, that I actually didn't enjoy dancing at all in the capacity that I thought. The reason I loved it was because I was striving for attention. It got me seen. I wanted to be seen. I, like I said, it brought, stages of accolades and merit, if you will, to me, because when I would tell people I've danced all over the world, I've performed for this person, I've been here, everybody oohs and ahs. And so not feeling good enough from myself, that made me feel good. And so I realized that really almost the entire time I was doing it, even as a child, was just for those things. It wasn't really because I loved to move for movement's sake. And how I really discovered that was, the longer I was away from it, I was starting to watch, people I'm connected with on social media post videos of themselves dancing in their grass or dancing on their driveway or whatever, because they just had to move and they didn't have their outlets. And so they were just moving for movement's sake on their own. And not once did I feel the desire to do that. Not once in those months that I was away. I never said, oh man, I just want to dance in my kitchen, I just want to move, at all. So that made me also say, investigate. I was like a detective for myself, and I just kept peeling back the layers. So I had to discover, like, why don't I want to do this at all? Why don't I miss moving at all? And that was why. So it was very, very, very deep in what I came up with. Yeah.
My goodness.
I know.
So that's, yeah. And so a lot of us, I guess, ended up doing that, right? Where we just had to take a look at what was really going on inside of us. Why am I doing what I'm doing? And all of a sudden it doesn't line up anymore. And okay, so once you started peeling back the layers, how did you do that, and what did you find? If you don't mind sharing that.
No, not at all. I am a really I love meditation. I meditate like 3 times a day at this point. So prior to 2020, what led me to meditation in the first place was because I was riddled with anxiety, and I was having panic attacks 2 to 3 times a week, and everything was overwhelming for me. I've always said I wouldn't wish what went on in my mind on anyone, because it was just a hamster wheel from hell. So I had to get to a point where it was actually physically ailing me. I was actually having physical effects that, was being looked at by doctors that it could be something really serious, but it actually was the result of what I manufactured and manifested in my own physical body. So that's really where that started. And I learned before 2020 that meditation was my tool to stay present and to uncover what, my next steps were, or what was in resonance with me. The ego was very strong too. So I played with those two sides up through 2020. I still do. The ego's never completely dead, but it was very, very parallel. They ran together. So I sit in meditation to practice being present. It's been more expansive now. I actually can hear, clairaudience. So that came into me in 2020. But initially it was the way to just quiet, listen to my breath or listen to the environment around me, and let whatever clouds of ping-ponging thoughts of what you should do is the way to kind of settle the dust there. And I also really like journaling. I really like brain dumping. So for me, when I do find that I have those moments where I feel like thoughts are all over the place, I just sit and I declare that I won't pass judgment on whatever comes out, and I start writing, and I do not lift the pen. So some of it doesn't make sense. It's like not grammatically correct or all of that. I just let myself write for a page or 5 pages until I just feel like whatever is in needs to get out. And a lot of times there's nothing there that I can uncover and investigate about, but I feel better because it's just empty. And then other times stuff comes up that makes me say, wow, I didn't know that was in there. Let's sit with that. So those are my 2 ways that I do most of the time to just get a deeper dive of like, what's going on in here. And the more awareness I have, the more clear things get. And I actually like feel changes in me. Like I can just feel when something doesn't feel right. And I know that I'm not coming from an authentic, heart-centered space. And I can just like now sit with that in either of those 2 tools and discover like why I'm feeling that way.
I can so relate to that.
Yay.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So like where you physically feel. Yeah. So for me, a lot of my stuff is I get physical feeling. I get like physical signals. Yes. That something's right or wrong, or that there's some information coming. I do not have clairaudience, so I'd like to hear a little bit more about how that came about for you here in a second. But I completely understand what you're saying about like needing to have that resonance and that validation that something is the right thing. Because I think anymore, what we have to do is we have to sit with everything that comes across.
Yeah.
Because there's so much deception all around us.
Yeah.
So the way that we know truth is to feel that ring of truth, right? Like I feel like if somebody is speaking truth, you can hear it in their voice. Like there's a vibration of truth that comes across. So I love that you said that. That's so powerful. So how did you realize that you had clairaudience? Like, how did that come about for you? And what was it like?
It just, I don't know, actually. I can't think of, the defining moments. I just know that it just feels like I'm an open, something in me declared that I was ready to be open to whatever guidance was for my greatest and highest good. Maybe I did, you know what? I probably did make some kind of declaration like that. Now that came out, I probably did do that. But I know that there was a moment where I was like, I am ready. Please, help guide me. I'm open to this. I don't feel like I need to have the driver wheel myself all the time. Like I know that I want a higher connection to what's for my greatest and highest good. So for me, it's just a soft, like, it feels like a thought. It just feels like a thought. And that's the tricky part is that higher guidance, or is that ego, or something not for my highest good? But now I can decipher the difference. It's soft. It's not judgmental. It doesn't order. It's almost like a soft suggestion, or like a tap on the shoulder of, is that really what you want to do? Is that, and That's really it. But it just comes in, and it comes in very clear. It's a knowing.
Yes.
Like you said,
Yes. You
you can
just
feel in your
know.
physical body. I can
Mhm.
feel in my physical body if that's an ego thing, or if, I made a judgment and I that's, well, that's not right. That's not my higher self. Um, when it comes in, it's just super soft, like a thought, and it's just very clear and very calm. And that's really the beautiful thing is, now I don't have to rely on my critical thinking mind, the one that makes you doubt. You think something, you think you feel something, and then you doubt
The
it, and you,
left brain.
yes, this is
Mhm.
this is just very clear. And yeah, there's no questions. There's no
Mhm.
questions. And so your statement about all of the things happening and in the world and all of the things that are going on, there's so much of that I don't even, you could talk about certain things, and I might not even know what you're talking about, because it's been very clear to me that there's a lot of stuff the purpose is to distract us. The purpose is to pull us away from what I'm talking about. Purpose is to keep us down or in fear, or in just angst of what's going on. And it's been very clear to me that it is not my role to get involved in that part. It's my role to, what you're trying to do on this channel is to raise consciousness. And because we're magnets, there are some of us who are meant to do that. So it resonates out to those that aren't ready to do that themselves. And so for me, this has been my lesson in 2020, because I will tell you, the first part of and middle part of 2020, I was not here. I'm here now in 2021. After a lot of work on myself. But now I know that it's not even my job to energetically connect to most of what's happening in the world at all. And to some, that might seem passive or cold, or I'm not sure. But my higher perspective is saying, like, on an energetic level, outside of what's happening in the physical world, because everything's energy, I'm meant to serve in the energetic space, not so much in the physical space. What I do in the physical
Yes.
space is a result of what I do in the energetic space.
I love that. And so to get there, you and I spoke about the ego shedding,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so that is what's helped get you to that point, it sounds like. Yes.
Yes.
So I love everything that you're saying. So tell me what you think ego is.
It's protection. It's meant to keep us safe, but it's amplified in the way the world has been and currently is. So I feel the way this world is built and what we look at as what life is and the structures of this type of life, it's like ego is like the fuel for all of those aspects. So we have been programmed where that is our, like, gasoline. Like, our ego, like, literally runs the show. So for me, it's I feel the ego definitely isn't for our highest good. The ego is to fuel us to, like, inflate ourselves in whatever way that we feel like we need. I needed it in recognition. Some people need it in money. Whatever that is. Yeah, it's a way to keep us dense.
Okay. That's interesting. I like that. So I guess I also think of the ego as our way, our identity.
Mm.
So our identity is all wrapped up in this persona. And I think when I think of ego shedding, I think of getting away from the persona of who we are and realizing that we are so much more beyond that, and it's not about who we are here, that we're here to live and experience. We're here to have that experience, and so the ego is part of that experience. So I feel like part of the like awakening piece is realizing Jennifer doesn't exist. Christy doesn't exist. This is our avatar. And then beyond that is who we really are. And so ego shedding is losing that identity, in my perception, is losing that identity and realizing what we truly are.
You elaborated what I said more eloquently, because that's where I was trying to convey that we're attached to these structures. So we're attached to what our job title is, what our profession is, what our class system is, what our race is, what our sex is, what are we a mom, are we a this, are we a that? There's so many labels and so many titles that we're told define us. And that for me was, I believe, the tether of not listening to my heart, where entertainment was starting to not resonate with me, and I wasn't actually really happy. Like each day was starting to be like days to go, but I was so tied to that the title of, you are a dancer. Without dance, you are nothing. And I really believed that. I really, really, really did. And that's the sneaky part of the ego, because we're shown that you've got to define yourself in those ways and put us in boxes,
And defining ourselves, it's a program. That's what you're saying. It's
yes. It's like, that's the first thing when you meet someone. They say, what do you do? Or do you have kids? Do you have whatever? Because that's what we're programmed to do. We got to put people in boxes. We got to figure out who they are, and that's how we know how to do it. That's how we know how to assess someone. Do we like them? Do we not? Do we get along with them? We've got to go through all those checklists which put us in all those checkmarked boxes.
And then it's like how we determine how to interact with somebody then too. Okay, so you said that you do this, so I'm going to associate you with that and put you in this box.
And it's those type of things that I just, after this year, I'm just no longer interested in being a part of. I'm just not interested in being put in a box.
And I'm with you, and I'm not interested in putting other people in boxes either. And that's difficult, really, in the beginning, because we have to go ahead. No, I was going to say we have to shed all of that, like you're talking about. Forget everything you were ever taught.
And that's what this year has been, is like everything, every opinion. I mean, even like points of view I had, I don't have them anymore. And it's been just a very interesting year. And I'm just recently, in the last few weeks, actually feeling ready to even like be out, like be out, be creative, take on more things. I haven't had the energy to. I've really needed to reserve and reflect, because it was a difficult year in navigating how I can, I'm physically here, but I don't love what I'm seeing. So how can I be of it and not in it? And it's been navigating that of how little can I play this game? Like, how little can I be in this video game? And that's really been my goal in the last few months of how can I be here, heart-centered, serving the collective, but not super deep in everything that goes on
in the narrative.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, well, and I love that, because I truly think that like we're calling in divine right now, because for many reasons, but one of the things that you just said makes me think of really Christ consciousness.
Yeah.
And one of the things that Jesus Christ said was, they are no part of the world, just as I am no part of the world. Mm-hmm. And I think once you start having that Christ consciousness, that divine starts coming into you and going through you, you really just start separating yourself from that world, because you just can't even, like, for me, I don't even recognize the world anymore. I don't even recognize it. I don't want to go out in it. And I know, so Christy, you're in Florida, and yeah. I'm in Minnesota. And I know in Florida, there's technically not a mask mandate, but a lot of people still wear them, from what you were telling me. And here in Minnesota, there still is very much a mask mandate. So for me personally, I don't choose to participate in that charade any longer. Mm-hmm. And so going out into the world it's a shock.
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah.
So
well, anyway. And in Florida, technically the state isn't mandated, but a large majority of the state's mayors mandated the counties. So where I live, there's still a mask mandate. So they overrode the governor in that.
I see.
So where I am in Orlando, everybody's in a mask still.
It's
and you really like can't get in anywhere. Yeah, you can't get in anywhere if you don't have one either. So
yeah, it's just like this dystopia. I feel like, and it's difficult. And so yes, like, don't want to participate in that. So like, how do you navigate living in this 3D matrix space while maintaining this higher level of consciousness? And I think that's what we're trying to figure out.
Yeah.
Pretty much on the daily.
Yeah. For me, with that topic, it's been an energetic since this started of, it's clear, like I can't go to my grocery store without it. So I understood energy even in April of last year. Really, actually, you know what? We didn't have a mandate till July. So actually, I didn't wear a mask until July. That's when it was mandated. I think that's actually when it lifted for the state or something. And then it got put on the county. I don't know what happened, but anyway, that I literally bought a mask in July. I didn't even own one before that. So once that happened, I said, this is an energy thing. I'm not afraid. And personally, I don't believe in them. I don't believe in the purpose that we're told they have. So I'm not going to hold that energy. I'm not going to hold a fearful energy. And I'm also not going to hold an energy where I feel like I'm consenting to this. This is the part where there is moments where I do have to live in this world. And so for the 15 minutes I'm in the grocery store, I have to live in this world. And right now, this world is saying that's what I have to do in order to do that. So I have the energy of, I do not consent. And I'm putting this, it's actually like a scarf. So in my mind, I'm wearing a scarf. I'm following the rule of the world that we currently live in. There's a lot of rules I don't believe in anyway in this world, and that I have to follow right now because they
Right.
are the rules. And that's the energy I have. And as soon as I literally step over the threshold of the store, it's off. And I don't put it
Mm-hmm.
on until I literally walk over the threshold into the store and then out. So that's the energy I hold with it. But I will say my activity level of this world right now is very little. I'm at home most of the time. I actually just traveled for the first time last week in the last 15 months. So it's just right now, it's for me, I've seen this because I know what's coming. Like I just know where we're going, that I have said, this is like a restructuring phase for you. This is like kind of a cocoon transformative phase for you. So instead of, again, anything that I'm upset about is really external entertainment and external anything anyway. So it's kind of distracting from what I feel like my mission is right now. My mission in the
Mm-hmm.
last year was to literally raise my vibration. And I know we connected last year, but if you had known me a year and a half ago, I'm nearly unrecognizable. So it was just for me a knowing that this is a time of more rest and slowing down in a way that you've never had in your life before. But this is your mission, because you've got to strip down, and then you've got to raise up in a way. You've got to relearn this, and this is your time. So that's how I've looked at this time, and that's how I've kind of mostly stayed out of whatever this world looks like that I don't believe in right now. So I'm lucky that I had the ability to do that. And I just know, because I'm being told, that whatever I have missed out on, or whatever has had to shift right now this year because of that, is going to be rewarded tenfolds down the road. So
Yes, yes. And so really, you and I are kind of on the same page with some of the stuff with the energy of like the collective. And I think that I almost feel like it's our responsibility to keep our vibration high, and that resonates out to the planet, to those near us, to those further away. And the more of us that are doing that, the better off we are, and the higher the frequency gets. We know that Mother Gaia has already shifted. And so all these structures are crumbling. These 3D structures are crumbling, including our government, our financial system, the commerce, like all of these different things, the way that we eat, food, agriculture, just so many different things are starting to crumble. And we have to go through that, as above, so below. So we have to go through that internally, that crumbling, and then the raising up of something new out of that. And I think that people like you and I and others across the planet, we're all in different places for a reason.
Yes.
We are all physically far apart from each other so that we can do this in our locations.
Yes.
I
100% agree. 100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I personally feel that we're in this dismantling phase, and it's really just begun.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's more to come.
Yeah, there's more to come. There's more to come.
Mm-hmm.
This is a marathon, not a sprint. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I love what you're talking about being able to take this time to be introspective and to work on your energy internally and evolving, really.
Yeah.
Like you said, you're unrecognizable now.
Yeah. I really am. I really am.
Mhm.
Yeah. In so many ways.
Can, well, I don't know if we didn't talk about like getting personal at all or anything, but I wanted to see like, how's your relationship with your family now?
Um, well, my husband and I have been on a very similar journey. So we're both in an awakening process in a very deep way. Like I said, before 2020, we had started that for about 2.5. Time is escaping me. I don't even know what time is anymore.
Same.
two 2.5 years before that we started, both for different reasons, kind of parallel journeys of shedding what no longer served us and kind of rewiring the way we perceive things, the way we respond to things, and stripping down why certain behaviors were there, and it's from trauma, and we did a lot of trauma work. So anyway, so this year we really had the awakening process at the same time. We really got shook to the core with a lot of discoveries that we discovered about the world and of about ourselves. So I'm very, very grateful that we really are very in alignment with one another. And he is absolutely, I only have a handful of people I can like really talk about everything that I'm experiencing with, and he's definitely one of them. So I'm very grateful for him. Um,
That's a huge blessing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. In terms of uh, the majority of other people in our lives, um, there was always something a little out of alignment anyway. Like I've always felt my whole life like I didn't really know where I came from. I always felt like different than everybody, and I didn't really know why. And I always felt like I never really fit in anywhere or was really understood. Like I was always the big dreamer, the person that did things that I didn't know anybody else who did. I went to New York at 18 to dance. I didn't know anybody else that did that before. Like I was always doing stuff that I had no example around me of doing that, but it just felt like what I needed to do. So, I mean, there's always been an aspect where, I've always kind of felt a little outside of kind of every group that I've been in. So it's really no different now. It's a little more extreme now, but there's always been a bit of me that's been like a loner in a lot of ways, where I've had, 2 to 5 people in my life that are really like my peeps. And then everybody else is like, kind of around, but also can tell like they don't really understand the real me type of thing. So that's just what I feel right now. It's leading up to this point in this life is what it's meant to be. And I feel like that's going to change down the road.
Yeah, I think we're like in a temporary spot right now for a
Yeah.
lot of that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know what you mean. So I grew up in a very religious household. We were Jehovah's Witnesses growing up, and I stepped away from that when I was 16 years old. And I'll tell my story another time. But essentially, going to school, I was always different. We didn't
Yeah.
do holidays or birthdays and stuff. So I kind of automatically fell into this like where I didn't fit in type of thing. But then at the same time, I felt like I didn't always fit in with the witnesses because I didn't feel like it matched. So I get that like I don't quite fit anywhere type of a thing. So I'm just going to do me.
Yeah. That's exactly what my position was.
Yeah. And I think we felt that way because we're not like anybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely agree.
It was all leading up to this.
Yeah. Yes, I absolutely agree.
Helps gives us strength
Yeah.
to be able
Yeah.
to deal with this, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So I love how we came across each other, actually. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So Christy and I have never met in person. This is only our second like live conversation.
Yeah.
And I would love to hear in the comments if any of you have come across people the same way that her and I did. But essentially, we were both watching like YouTube videos of different podcasts and ended up being in a Facebook group for, was it the Divine Feminine Roundtable?
It was the roundtable. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you guys have ever watched any of the Divine Feminine Roundtables on YouTube, then you may have caught some of the people, like Magenta Pixie was on there.
Jen McCarthy.
Jen McCarthy. Yeah, there were lots of different people. Well, not lots, but there was like maybe 6 to 9 total, and they would not always all be there. But anyway, I can't remember everyone's name. But yeah, that's how we met. So like this March of 2020 came along, and then next thing you know, everything like shut down, and we all had to go and suck back into our homes and like say, what the hell's going on? Right.
Yeah.
And then some of us started questioning things.
Yeah.
And going, wait a minute. Like for me, I like started doing math. It's because I'm an accountant. I'm a degreed accountant. And so I was like, what is this death rate? What's the death rate? I need to know. And how does it compare to the flu? And, stuff like that. So started doing the math. And then next thing I know, like everything started breaking down for me.
Yeah.
And so it was like, where am I going for information? And I, like you, 2 years ago, well, 2 years then. So like late 2017, ended up going through some of these like personal transformations on personal growth and things. It's so funny how our stories line up like that. And so I started looking at more esoteric people, and then that's how we met. So we were both like seeking knowledge, like help explain what's going on out here and in here.
Yeah.
And that's how we met. But wouldn't you agree that while we had to kind of like go out and get a little bit of validation, like, okay, there really is stuff going on, and it's not just like all in my head.
Right.
But that kind of helped us to be able to then go within and trust ourselves.
100%. 'Cause that's what really, I don't even know how it happened, but I started to go on like fast forward. Like, I don't know what you just were talking about, how I transitioned from this feels weird, something doesn't feel right, what is going on, to learning a little bit more, to then esoteric stuff. I don't even know how that happened. It was just divine how it happens. But I can tell you,
boom, 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 boom.
Right? But I can tell you that took me from, 2.5 years of, looking at law of attraction, meditating, doing affirmations, all the things. And then it's just like accelerated. And it also helps with the ego stripping a lot faster, because like you said earlier, sitting with the fact, it's a fact. I'm not going to sugarcoat your audience or my audience. It's a fact that there are a lot of things that we think that we know about that aren't not what they are. They're just not. And so that in and of itself for me was like, oh, you don't actually know like anything you think you know. So all the things that like mattered to you were like, well, those things aren't what they are. So they don't matter anymore. And so that really helped me in that sense of just getting rid of a lot of stuff, a lot of beliefs, a lot of things that I was clinging on to unworthiness. And I was like, oh, well, that's actually a lie. So cool. We can just like get rid of that right now. And so it actually really helped with the, I would say that barrier that I was with the ego that, I was learning about and getting centered and learning about being present and learning how to up my vibration, but my ego would only let me get so far. And like that started to crumble because of, diving deep. And here's what I'll say about that. If you tap into when you hear something or read something or see something, if you just sit with yourself, if you don't immediately just go, oh, there's no way. And that's the ego. The ego immediately wants to go, no, 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 don't listen to that because that can't be true. If you just get quiet with yourself and just feel if that feels right. Feel if that feels like that makes sense to you. If everybody would start doing that with what's in front of them, and I know that there are still some things that are meant to distract us too, but does that feel right? Because even that stuff that's meant to distract us, I can tell in 2 seconds. Like I can tell in 2 seconds. Like that's just not. I feel it. That is not true. That is a distraction. That is something else meant to send our energy all over the place.
Yes.
And that's what I started to do. Stuff just didn't feel right. And when I saw, read, heard stuff, it strengthened my discernment to go, is that in resonance with you? It is or it isn't. And we're not naturally at that energy state in this world right now. It's something that we have to remember. Like we know how to do that, but we're not shown or encouraged to do that in this world. So it's those of us that go beyond that narrative and that belief of, it's already been proven. So this is exactly what it's a fact. These are facts.
Yeah. I don't have to look into it because somebody smarter than me already looked into it.
Exactly. And that's a really dangerous line that we've all been living for a long time without thinking about it. And until you can see the other side of that, it doesn't seem dangerous. It seems practical. And I do understand that. And before 2020, that's how I was too. We all have been there at some point, and now we're not. So that would be the biggest change for me this past year that started to change everything, was that I just broke away from just because somebody had a title and was in a certain box that I'm just supposed to listen and go with whatever they say, and that affects my entire life or how I feel or all of the things, and that didn't jive with me anymore.
Claimed your power back.
Yeah But the funny thing is I don't know if it's funny, the ego has held on in my throat chakra. So I've been very hesitant and reserved in the way I speak about what I've been going through this year. It's really easy for me to talk about the ego stuff. It's really easy for me to talk about personal growth. But I have had reservation about what I say due to the paradigm I've still been breaking through of not wanting to make people uncomfortable or alienate people or, poke a beehive that I know is just going to make the bees come out, and there's not going to be really any good that comes from it. So I definitely have had that where I've been very conservative in the way that I speak and what I've spoken about. So that feels like a shift for me now where
you're sitting here even is humongous.
Yeah, that I don't feel I'm meant to be here to expose everything. I really feel like I'm meant to be here to hold an energetic. Yet it's my sovereign right to speak freely. So
yes,
that's where my balance is, finding that.
That's beautiful. That is so beautiful. That's, I so am on the same page with you on all of this stuff. So when you talk about it being stuck in your throat chakra, that's the main reason I started this podcast, is because for me personally, everything was sitting right here. And you can physically feel it. And it's just blocked. It's held, and it's tight. And this gives us a space to be able to release that. Now, I, like you, don't feel that it's my place to place a judgment on another soul for what they are going through and where they are in their journey and in their awakening and their life path. We all have our soul contracts, and they have to live out their life the way that they're supposed to live out their life. That's theirs. Mine is mine. However, I need to own mine. And I need to speak freely and truthfully about what I know and believe to be truth. What is truth to me may not be the same truth to you, but I'm not going to tell you what you need to believe. And you can't tell me what I need to believe. You could try, I guess, but I'm with you. And I think we all have to come to that on our own. And it's not up to us. At first, I kind of felt like I need to tell all my friends and all my family. And it was coming from a place of, oh my God. We have been freaking lied to our entire lives about every little thing, like every little thing and every big thing, and wanting to save everybody. It's not my job to save everybody. But it was coming from a place of love and caring and stuff. But the program is strong. And it's not our job to break through it. It's our job to be authentic. And maybe our authenticity helps someone else. But it's not our jobs. It's not our jobs to do that. It's our jobs to do it for ourselves. And then I think that ultimately ends up helping everyone else.
I had to come to that as well. And what I've come to sit with is, if we were in that position 2 years, 5 years, 10 years ago, whatever, we were all under the spell. I call it a spell because that's what it was. And we decided to step outside of that and really take a look with different eyes. We made that decision. No one jarred us. No one forced us. No one made us do that. We made that decision. And at the time that it felt right at the time that something shook us up a little bit in order to do that. And so it's either not everyone else's time, or it's not their experience that they're going to see it in this life. And every person, every one of those journeys is for a reason. There are some of us, I mean, some of us have been awake for 20 years, 30 years. I don't know how they've lived in this world for 30 years like this, but they were meant to be first, to get ready for us. And I believe very soon there's going to be another round of that. And then there are some that won't, in order for other waves to start to look around. And so that's where I had to come to is, no, it's not my job. It's, we all have free will, and it's everybody's
Yes.
individual right to either decide to be okay to just continue to be told what to do without questioning anything, or to stop and pause and look around and say, does that feel right? This person's telling me to do this, or I'm a bad person, but does that feel right? Am I a bad person? I'm not a bad person if I don't do this. Then keep going. And that's what we've done. And it's everybody's right to decide if they're going to do the same.
It's scary to do that.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's why I haven't really spoken too much. You know, I don't want to be deplatformed. I am building a livelihood that I'm in the process of building even bigger virtually. So, you know, my audience and my way to express myself right now is virtually, and these platforms are doing a really great job of only allowing you to be a certain version of yourself that they want you to be. And so that's made me very reserved. It's not even necessarily for whatever response I might get by speaking an opinion. It's more that it's like, I'm at the mercy of what this world looks like right now, of losing my ability to speak to the people I'm connected
to reach people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's also, I think, difficult for an individual to take a minute and say, let me actually look into this and see what I find out. Because the thought that everything is false, that shakes you to your core.
Yeah. Yes.
And being shaken to your core, it's not fun.
No.
And so I think it is a self-protection, like you said. Then that's the ego. That's the ego protecting us, us from being shook to the core.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's made me question nearly everything in my life this last year, from, you know, what direction do I go? What do I believe in? The depth of the way I show up day to day is so much deeper than it was a year ago, which that in and of itself changed a lot of passions or beliefs or where I saw myself going, because it's just, I'm at such a deeper heart level than I was. Like, it just changes everything. It changes what you care about. It changes what you don't care about. It changes the way you want relationships to look like. It's just everything. So this whole year has been like, in the most beautiful way though, because it just completely reconstruction, like implode the whole thing and build a new foundation. But I will say, Although I've had lots of time where I'm like, I don't want to talk to people and I just need to be here. It wasn't coming from a place of depression. It was coming from a place of, I don't have the energy right now. Like all I have the energy to do is rebuild. And I could tell like everything was just getting rebuilt. And so it was coming from that. So I would say overall, I've been more at peace this year than I've ever been. Because before, oh God, thinking about how I would have handled this last year before, I found meditation and I had tools, it would have been really dark. It would have been really, really dark. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Well, Christy, I am so grateful for you coming and sharing yourself with all of us. And so tell the listeners what you've got going on, what you've got coming up, if anything, and where they could get in touch with you.
Yeah. So a lot of things are in the works right now. Like I said, I've just kind of emerged from my cocoon a few weeks ago, and a lot of things now I feel like I'm in fast forward. So I just got certified in dance fitness in a brand called Sweat and Swagger. And why I'm so called to this is it's about being inclusive. It's about moving how you feel good for you. And it's just an ability to, fall in love with your body in a whole different way and not worry about what everybody else looks like. Your swag is beautiful and it's going to be different than mine and Jen's, and it's all awesome. So I really feel called to create a online space for that, a virtual space. So I will be working on weekly virtual classes and also a monthly subscription for unlimited classes, and also nutrition and recipe tips and all that. So that's in the works. That'll be on my website, christylittle.net, in the next few weeks. I just got certified as a retreat facilitator. So I will have a couple domestic in 2021, but the first one that's officially booked is in Costa Rica in January of next year, January 11th to the 16th. So I'm super excited for that. So that will be up on my website in the next few weeks. There's 10 slots. It's about self-development. We're going to be really immersive in the land and allow the lands to help discover more about ourselves. So yes, retreats are a new venture that I will be diving into. I feel that, like you said, all of us are kind of all spread out with light. I feel like I'm meant to start to bring people together to actually meet in person, while we're all so spread out. And yes, I have a well-being and nutrition business too. You can find that on my website, christylittle.net. And I'm on Facebook, Christy Little. I'm on Instagram, Christy_Little1111. I'm on LinkedIn too, as Christy Little. So yeah,
all the things,
lots of things coming up. I've gotten a lot of clarity and a lot of creative juices going of how I can serve. So got a lot of good stuff in the works.
That's beautiful. And we'll include all of that in the show notes. So all of you can just scroll down and see the show notes and get the information on how to connect with Christy and maybe go to Costa Rica in January.
Amazing.
Oh my gosh, how wonderful. Well, and if you haven't already, if you could please like and subscribe to Raising Humanity podcast so you can catch future videos. We'd appreciate that too. So thanks so much for watching. Thank you, Christy, for being here. And we'll see you guys next time.